What's up, dudes? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're checking out yet another budget gun. This one was sent over by Pinty. Actually, they sent a couple of guns, so stay tuned. We're going to review their striker next after this one. But this is the Nightfall. It used to go by a couple of other names. I think they called it the Tactical and also the P-Force. But it's a 22 caliber gun, and it is a clear Airforce knockoff. So we're going to go over the pros and cons of that and what I think of the overall design. And we're going to shoot it at 25 yards with some H&N pellets. If you want one of these things or anything on the Pinty website, I do have a discount code that helps the channel. That's going to be AS15. It'll save you 15%. So that's a pretty good, generous discount code. That will put this gun down to around the $250 price mark for you guys. So before we go too much further here, let me show you the unboxing from when I first got this gun. And we'll clip that in right now. All right, all you hosses and barbs, it's time to do another kitchen floor super classy unboxing, God bless, of the Pinty Nightfall. Cool. Okay, so this thing comes really actually very well packaged. Got your manual there. Make sure you read that if you're not familiar with PCP airguns. And wow, it's even a color manual. Not bad. Okay, so we've got some foam covers, the gun itself, and please hold. All right, so there's what you get. We've got the carbine itself, and it does come with a Huben regulator. Huben regulators are a personal favorite of mine. I use them on all my Airforce guns, and apparently they went with one on their fake Airforce gun. So cool. You get a spare parts kit with that, including the reg seat poppet for that valve. So you can keep this thing running for a super long time. You're also going to get a little bag of parts. Looks like they've got some grease, some O-rings, and yes, a muzzle thread adapter. Some of the other videos I watched on this thing were complaining that the suppressor has proprietary threads. Well, now you can remove that, put on the little adapter, and that'll adapt it to 1/2x20, so you can put on any standard airgun moderator. And the last thing you're going to get with it is the cocking handle, which goes right in there. They even put a little plastic cover on it, which I guess you could leave it on if you really wanted to, but we'll take that off. So that is what you get in the box. All right, now that you've seen the unboxing, next I'll go down there and shoot it. But Tim, why don't you come up here? Let's just take a quick comparison of both of these guns. So up top here, I've got an actual authentic Airforce Condor in 22. My personal one also has a Huben reg on it. This is the 50cc plenum. I do have a coupon code for Huben, which is, I think it's RSZA. I'll put that in the description and comments too, as always, for you guys. But this is a 25, and this thing thumps. So that is the real Airforce Condor. And here is kind of, it's almost like a blend between the Talon and the Condor. So I think Pinty got a couple of things right. The number one thing that you're immediately going to notice is Picatinny rails. Airforce has always done the dovetail rails, which is not preferable. Lately, they've changed that, I think, on some of the new rifles, but this one comes with it. It's got some kind of cool machining on here, some cuts in it, which make it kind of look cool. And it does have M-LOK on the sides. Now, there's advantages and disadvantages of this. Number one, this can't be an SS model like this ever, because that's where you get some of the sound suppression and it would just blow out here. But you can mount M-LOK stuff like bipods and whatever. This one has a suppressor on it. It has a proprietary thread, but it does have that thread adapter that comes with it that I showed you in the unboxing, that you can just put whatever moderator you want on it. Today we're going to shoot it in the stock form. Also, the power wheel on these things is cut on both sides. The Airforce guns are not. So that forces you to have to just use your thumb on one side. I like that it's double cut here because you can use both fingers like this and it's much easier to adjust. Also, the way that the bolt is cut on these is, I believe, kind of better, because instead of just cocking it to one side like the Airforce guns there, you actually pull this all the way down and it's just kind of more of a positive lock up there. So I like that. The trigger is a little bit, well, the trigger's horrible. We'll get into that in a minute, but the trigger safety here is different than the Airforce one. I always modify my Airforce ones to not be automatic. So on these, when you cock the gun, it puts a safety on. I don't like that. I take that feature out. But still, that safety is much less ergonomic than that. So good job, Pinty, on that. I also kind of like the grip on the Pinty. You can see here, it doesn't have this thing that juts out. That is a little bit uncomfortable in the Airforce guns. They cut that off. So, you know, very similar frame design on both of these. And I think the Pinty here it definitely has a case for me, and we'll get into my final thoughts at the end of the video. But for now, let's go down there. We'll shoot at 25 yards with some H&N 21 grains, and we'll see how it does with accuracy, and we'll go from there. We're in the Vevor heated shooting shack now, and I want to just take a little closer look at this gun. I don't want to make this review take too long, but this gun does have that Huben regulator. So even if you buy this gun and you totally hate it, you can still put that Huben setup on one of your other Airforce guns, which is pretty cool. So over here, if we take a quick look, the cocking system is different than the Airforce. It's pretty cool, but I noticed it's really rough. And you sort of have to almost twist this in this way, otherwise it kind of hangs up. So we can see on the Huben Reg, that is not the top hat adjustable version like some of their other ones that I helped them design. So check this out. I noticed one thing. And guys, I'm going to tell you everything about this gun, good or bad. I have no connection to Pinty. They sent the gun. They're not paying me for the review or anything like that. So I'm going to be obviously 100% honest, as I always am. But check this out. So since that's not the adjustable top hat, I got some play in there. I have a solution for that with the 1mm copper washers, like you might have seen in one of my other Huben videos. So eventually I'll do that. But today we're going to shoot this gun in total stock form. I do think that this gun is a little rough, but it's a budget gun and it actually pushes out more power than is advertised. Another thing about this gun, hang on, I'll remove that suppressor just to show you something. All right, so that's with the suppressor removed. I did measure that bushing in there, and it seems to be the same internal diameter as the actual real Airforce guns. So to me, that opens it up where, like, I think that if you're a tuner or somebody just wants to tinker, maybe you've got some disposable income to throw towards one of these things, if you use that coupon code, it's only going to cost you around $250 for this gun. But I think with a little meddling internally, we could put Airforce parts in there. So stay tuned to the channel because I might do some other stuff with that. So I think for me, the real use case for this gun is like, hey, do you want a gun where you can like tinker on it and make it better? Like maybe you can make the trigger better. Maybe you can polish the internals to make it cock and slide smoother and have the hammer be more consistent and all that. Then, you know, if you want to tinker around, and I do like tinkering, I'm kind of excited to do it on this gun. But with all that said, let's just actually get into shooting it now, and we'll see how it groups at 25 yards with the H&N Barracuda 21 grains. I was also shooting some of the standard 18 grain pellets, but this gun will shoot them quite fast, actually. It definitely exceeds the 850 FPS on the advertisements for this gun. So also, worth noting, on top is a Oneleaf NV500. That's an awesome range-finding ballistic scope that is also night vision, and I have a coupon code for that as well, so always check the comments. With all that said, let's get into shooting this damn thing. I missed something, so real quick while I'm filling this thing, check it out. That gauge goes to, it has the red starting at 30 megapascals, which is 300 bar. Do not fill this to 300 bar. This is a 250 bar aluminum tank. I don't know why they chose to leave that gauge on there. Okay, actually I do. That's the standard gauge on the Huben regs, and you can put a 300 bar bottle on the Huben regs, so that makes sense. But they probably should have swapped that out to not confuse their customers, especially there's probably a lot of new users buying this gun. So needle right in the middle of the yellow and you're good. All right. All right, let's get this show on the road. We're going to shoot some H&N Barracuda 21.14 grains. I've got the weight programmed into my FX True Ballistics chronograph. Target out there at 25 yards. And how about this? If this gun manages a 1 inch or less group, I'll take it out to 50. If not, I'm not even going to bother. So let's see how it does at 25. Start recording through the good old Oneleaf. And we'll go ahead and see if we can put some impacts on down there. Shooting with this extremely heavy 8 or 10 pound trigger makes things quite difficult. All right, 855 FPS. So that was 34 foot-pounds. And I'm going to do about a 10 shot group. 846, 33 foot-pounds. Not bad. So I feel like that's exceeding the power, because if I'm shooting 18 grain, it's pushing them at like 9 something. And also keep in mind, it's 30 degrees out here, so that's definitely affecting airgun performance. Now I noticed, and you might see it, sometimes this gun shoots a really low shot, and I feel like it's because something's hanging up with the hammer or trigger sear touching the hammer. So keep an eye out, because maybe that might happen. All right, 862. Looks like we're grouping pretty good, actually. I might have looped myself into having to shoot at 50 yards if these groups don't open up. .871, so that's 35.6 foot-pounds. That is definitely sufficient to take raccoons even with body shots. I have killed raccoons with much less power guns. Man, it's punching a pretty good group at 25. I think it does like these Barracudas. So that was 872 FPS. I'm trying to make sure I get the cocking and how it's sitting on that top hat the same every time to try to make it as consistent as possible. All right, 871. .867, so it looks like right a pretty consistent 35 foot-pounds. Haven't had one of those low shots yet, but don't let me jinx myself. Maybe it's broken in now. 856. So I think because of the gap on that top hat that I showed you and how the breech doesn't, you know, there's some wiggle in there, I think that's causing a little bit of inconsistency, because usually these Huben regs are super consistent. All right, 852. Was that 10 yet? Okay, that was 9 shots. We'll do 10 and give you the stats here. Okay, that was 10. Let's do the typical thing where I give you some stats. All right, so we've got 10 shots, a low of 846, a high of 871, average of 862 FPS, standard deviation of 8.62. Not too bad, especially given the wiggliness of that breech, how it's sitting on that top hat. So we had a spread of 25 FPS. So definitely hunting accuracy and hunting consistency. But let's do this. We'll go up there, we'll take a look at that group. And I believe I said if I shot less than an inch group, then I would take it to 50. So it looks like I'll be hauling that target out to 50. So let's go check it out. Well, to be honest, you guys, I did not expect this group. So that is, I would say, center to center. It's maybe like a half-inch group or so. So now I am doomed to take my target out to 50. I'll use the onboard ballistics of the Oneleaf scope there to calculate the trajectory, and we'll see how it does on another target at 50 yards. And it is somewhat windy, a little bit breezy today, but let's see how it does. All right, we're gonna keep going at 50 yards. I'll do 5 shots, and I'm not gonna reset that chronograph, so we'll see if the standard deviation and extreme spread and everything changes. So I've got 5 shots on deck here. Let's see how it does. All right, looks like it's the same at 50. Didn't really move my reticle much, if at all. Well, golly, I don't really know where that hit. Maybe it'll become apparent here. Let's shoot 5 at it and see. It definitely hit the target. If we can't see, I'll put a bigger target out there. All right, staying pretty consistent on the velocity. All right, so that was 5 more shots. We have a total of 15 shots. Standard deviation actually went down, so that's good. So you can see the stats right there. Not bad. Let's go look at the target and see if we actually hit it. All right, so I couldn't see on the scope, but I was actually hitting. Looks like at 50, we opened up to right at about 2 inches, which is 4 MOA. So that's not great. Could you take a squirrel or groundhog or something at 50? Yeah, sure, probably. Could you find other pellets that might work a little bit better? Yeah, maybe. But at 25, this thing was dead on with those 21 grain pellets and shooting at like 35 foot-pounds. So, you know, if you have just a backyard where you're not usually shooting 50, this thing might be the ticket. Anyway, let's go up there. We'll wrap up with some final thoughts. All right, guys, so that's going to do it. Let's wrap up with my final thoughts on this thing. First of all, I am a big Airforce Airguns super fan. I have been since the early 2000s. I actually got an Airforce Airguns logo tattoo on my arm in 2005. So I'm an OG in the game of this style of platform. It's cool to see somebody come out with a copycat. Is it as good quality as a real Airforce gun? Absolutely not. But if you use that coupon code that I provided you guys, you could get this thing for around $250. And again, that coupon code's good for anything on the Pinty site. But for $250, here is my plea to you guys about this gun. Are you somebody who likes to tinker around? Do you have other Airforce guns? Do you have a big sack of Airforce parts like I do laying around in one of your closets? Well, this thing might be kind of fun for you to tinker on. You're going to get like half of the value of your dollars in the Hube and Reg system alone. And I think it's got some good things going for it, man. It's got the Picatinny rails, so you don't have to use adapters on it. It comes with a little moderator. It does come with the thread adapter. The proprietary thread on the moderator, not that cool. But overall, it didn't even have that bad of a standard deviation, and that's with the wiggle on the breech. So I think I'm going to do some serious tinkering on this gun. I'm going to see if I can fit a Lothar Walther barrel from Airforce in this thing. And stay tuned, because I'm going to work on the trigger and try to mess around with this thing. So if you're a tinkerer, I think this is good. Also, if you're just a guy who's shooting 25 yards and shooting chipmunks and squirrels in his backyard, you saw how it grouped at 25 yards with pretty good power, 35, 36 foot-pounds with those 21 grainers. That's definitely a thumper. So definitely the use case could be 25 yards and in on squirrels, chipmunks, rabbits, coons, things like that. Or if you're a tinkerer and tuner, this might just have your name on it. So check out the links in the description and comments. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.